Okay, so this is one of the preliminary fights from the World Combat Championship, and it happened back on October 17th of 1995. And this one featured Mike Bitonio, who represents the Hawaiian art of Kapu Kuailua, against Bart Vale, who is from Shootfighting. And there's something about this fight that people that like old mixed martial arts events, I don't know, there's something about this fight that everybody found kind of like fascinating. Here, let's watch it together. Here we go. So like I said, Mike Bitonio, who represents the Hawaiian art of Kapu Kuailua, and I had seen that before, but the kind I saw involved, it was like a Hawaiian art of bone breaking, but they broke your bones with like big wooden clubs. Like it wasn't like really a grappling style, but as you can see here in this event, as you will see, he really is a grappler. And he does actually pretty well against Bart Vale, who's way bigger, like 60-some pounds heavier. And Bart Vale, he comes from shoot fighting, and I saw a fight between Bart Vale and Ken Shamrock, where actually Bart Vale wins. But that one was clearly worked, because he does like this like big spinning kick, and then Ken Shamrock is like stunned and stuff. So Bart Vale clearly had been doing some pro wrestling style stuff, this fellow, in Japan. But man, that being said, do you want to mess with this guy? I certainly don't. So it's interesting for a few reasons. One, Mike Bitonio is a grappler, while Bart Vale is more of a mixed martial arts kind of guy, because shoot fighting had some punching, kicking, takedowns, groundwork, submissions. And I think that's what else is interesting about this, is both these guys try submission holds on each other, but neither of them are from jiu-jitsu. The one is from like Hawaii or the Kapu Kuailua, nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. And this cat comes from shoot fighting, and the grappling, the submission holds from shoot fighting came from more of like a catch wrestling background, So it's interesting to see two guys doing. See, like, look at this. That's pretty good. Like Bitonio closes the distance, takes him, and does like a pretty good takedown. But then watch this. Bart Vale does a bridge and roll. Considering neither of these guys are jiu-jitsu players, that's pretty good. But now it just gets ugly. See, look, Bitonio's going for an armbar. He was holding Bart Vale's hair. He's looking for an armbar. It's not bad. It's not bad. He's in there, but Bart Vale clearly knows what that is. He's pulling his way out. He's passing the guard and stuff. And look, headbutting. See, and this is where it just gets nasty. Because now, Bart Vale is headbutting Mike Bitonio a lot. And Bitonio is trying to, like, prevent himself from getting headbutted by holding on to Bart Vale's hair. Kind of like Royce Gracie versus Kimo Leopoldo from the UFC 2 or 3 or whatever that was back in the day. But also very different in a number of ways. I'd like to point out that, like, Bart Vale's hands have enough tape on them. There's quite a few guys in this event. They had no limit on the amount of tape you could put on your hands. So everybody's hands were taped up to be like sledgehammers. And also there was no rule against hair grabbing. There was no rule against fence grabbing. So a lot of stuff happens in this event that subsequent events had to make rules to prevent it, which I guess is one of the things that makes this interesting. But look at this. I mean, I think one of the reasons people like to talk about this fight is that Bitonio, even though he's not the most skilled grappler, in the world, he's doing his best, but, he's gotten mounted here and stuff. He's just so tough. And it's so, I don't know, impressive that he's fighting a guy that's much, much bigger than him. And he just won't give up, Not that I've seen any, grapplers or submission people that give up quite easily. And look at this. Eye gouging. He's clearly sticking his fingers in Bart Vale's face, Everyone's bleeding. Headbutts, Mental. And there's Cecil Peoples, the referee, making sure everybody's, I don't know what he's doing. People are eye gouging and bleeding and headbutting each other. I mean, if you're a referee for a no rules fight, you don't have much to do. There's no rules. I think there were some rules for this one. I just don't know what they were. And Bart Vale here is trying that same neck crank that Brock Lesnar did on Frank Mir back in the day, but didn't work. Another guy tries that later in this same event. You know, I think you have to be must be a size discrepancy for that to fly. Look at this, he tries a hip toss, ends up on the bottom, and Bart Vale's trying some kind of choke or neck crank on him now or something, and Bitonio just won't give up. He's like, well, you know, if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound, or whatever that expression is. I'll go back to hair grabbing and eye gouging again. There was something about this fight that's just, I don't know. Whenever people who've been around the game for long enough get together for a few beers, they're always like, hey, did you see that fight back in the day between Mike Bitonio and Bart Vale? That was a hell of a fight, wasn't it? Yeah. Man, that's nasty. Hammering away, and there's blood all over the place. He's trying an Americana, but Bitonio's head is included in the Americana, and it's like not even, and look, he's eye gouging him again. It's not even close to being correctly applied. Crazy. He's headbutting him. He's holding his arm in sort of an Americana. He's trying to sink a shoulder lock, but it's all wrong, and he's headbutting him, and the other guy's eye gouging him, and Cecil Peoples keeps pulling his hand away. Like, how many times does a person have to try to eye gouge another guy, his opponent, before the referee disqualifies him? You know? I don't know. I mean, I referee jiu-jitsu events, and if a guy tries eye gouging, even one time, I'm calling it a day. But, you know, I guess that makes me and Cecil Peoples a little different. With him, you can just stick your fingers in his eyes a bunch of times and stop that. Reminds me of maybe the refs for True Pro Wrestling, you know, like in the WWE or whatever. What are they doing? One dude's biting another and they're counting. 1, 2. Why are you counting while the guy's biting him? I have no idea. Anyway, Bart Vale's mounted on Mike Bitonio. Everyone's bleeding, getting poked in the eye, getting headbutted. Look at that, though. Doing his best to escape from nasty. Nasty. Look at that. He's doing his best. Trying to get his feet up on the cage and bridge and roll out of there. Grabbing onto the dude's hair, poking him in the eye. I guess that's in the rules. I don't know. Look at that. Jesus. That's a bit applied, isn't it? His arm's right upside down. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe that was just the camera angle. Yeah. It's funny how with shoulder locks, if your arm is up by your face, there's still some wiggle room. But as soon as it gets laterally, all of a sudden, your shoulder's in extreme danger, you know? Oh, one on here. Oh, here we go again. Punched him in the side of the head. Yep. Man. Would you tap to that? Look at him, digging away at his eyes and stuff. See? Huh? If you're practicing grappling for self-defense, bear in mind, if you're on top of a dude breaking his shoulder, his other hand can come up and poke you in the eyes, you know? Oh. Look at the Kapu Kuailua guys flipping out, climbing up the cage and going crazy, you know? Now Bart Vale's in his back. And that's, like I said, these guys are both, they kind of know some grappling, but neither of them really has a guard, so to speak. Although Mike Bitonio earlier in the fight did try an arm lock, but, you know, crazy. Look at that. Well done, Mike Bitonio. Well, Bart Vale's got a head and arm on him now. Look at that. You know, like I said, neither of these guys had practiced any jiu-jitsu at all. This is all, see? Gets him in a head and arm. You know? If his shorts and his mustache don't impress you, maybe his grappling will. Yep. Pretty cool. You know, it's funny when you watch fights from back in the day. Like we could all be all so snooty and talk about, you're not doing reverse ashi or whatever, our fancy leg lock terminology. But back then, man, people were just figuring stuff out. You know, look at the footlock that Ken Shamrock tried on Pat Smith back in the first UFC. My God, what was that? Legs flying around and stuff, you know? Anyway, whatever. What am I saying? Here's Mike Bitonio. He did his best. Admirable performance. Tough. Here's Bart Vale. He's holding on to his hair and poking him in the eye, and, you know. I think that's what was odd about this one, is they were really playing up the whole fighter honor, respectful, you know, Budo honor fighters thing. But then there's people poking each other in the eye and grabbing hair and bleeding all over the place. I don't know. I have a hard time bringing together the Budo martial arts respect thing with the eye-poking, head-butting stuff. But those two don't seem like they go together very well at all. Anyway. Craziness. There's the head and arm choke. He's kind of doing it right. I mean, he's not using his legs at all. I mean, Mike Bitonio taps out. I guess he's getting choked. A guy like that, putting that on you, man, that's going to be, you know, squeezing away like that. Got some muscles. Maybe you're going to feel that, you know. Here's that announcer. So anyway, Bart Vale wins this one. And for whatever reason, though, he's not able to advance in the tournament, which is kind of a shame, because he would have gone on to have faced Renzo Gracie, which I would have liked to have seen. And instead, he's out and he gets replaced by some other guy that's just a wrestler, whose name I forget. Anyway, that's that. There you go.